Assalamu alaikum students. Welcome back to the online classes of Pharmaceutical Quality Management Theory plus Lab.
Today's topic are bioassay topics and also the statistical quality control chapter topics. So insulin bioassay, which is the potency of a sample of insulin injection, is estimated by comparing the hypoglycemic effect it produces with that produced by a standard preparation of insulin under the conditions of a suitable method of assay. So this is the description you can say of the insulin bioassay, in which we are checking the potency of sample by comparing its basically its biological activity, or we can say the activity actually is the hypoglycemic effect, and we will be estimating, we will be confirming the sample's activity with the activity that is produced by the standard preparation of the insulin. So the standard preparation and the units for the insulin. So it says the insulin standard preparation is, it's a fourth international standard established in 1958, which consists of purified and recrystallized insulin, ox or bovine 52% and pig 48%, and that is supplied in ampoules containing approximately 110 to 125 mg. So basically it's recommended as the fourth international, in which the among this preparation it consists of the 52% of the ox insulin and the 48% of the um, pig insulin. So basically its quantity that is supplied is 110 to 125 mg. uh, so unit, basically one unit is equal to 0.04167 mg, and 1 mg contain 24 units. So in the insulin standard, the fourth international standard, so means again provided by the WHO. So 1 unit is equal to 0.04167 mg, and 1 mg contain 24 units. So basically the idea behind fourth international set initially it was generated as a third international standard, but with the collaboration of 22 labs, they produce fourth international standard, which is usually consist of the 52% of the ox and the 48% pig insulin. Basically, the bioassay is used for biological activity, whereas nowadays for its chemical identity, uh, HPLC, or high performance liquid chromatography, is preferred method. So preparation of the stock solutions for both standard as well as the reference, sample. So for standard, basically the standard preparation is taken and dissolved in normal saline, and it is acidified with HCl up to the pH of 2.5 to 3.5. So usually phenol 0.1 to 0.25% is added to prevent the growth of mold, whereas the references also say the cresol is used as a preservative, and sometimes a fatty material like glycerin 1.4 to 1.8% is also added for easy penetration of the insulin into the membrane. So dilutions are made in such a way that 20 units of insulin are contained in ml of stock solution. So you have to prepare the stock solution in a way that 1 ml of the stock solution will be having 20 units of the insulin. So the stock solution that is being prepared like this is stored at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade and can be utilized within 6 months of preparation. So depending upon the data preparation, you can utilize within 6 months, and afterwards you obviously you have to discard it. So further dilution for basically the assay are made in a way with the same solvent composition. So methods for insulin bioassay. So there are basically two methods. One is cutaneous injection into the mice, and second one is rabbit blood sugar method. So method one, cutaneous injection into the mice. So it's also known as mice conversion method. So it says at least 96 mice are selected, weighing between 18 to 22 grams, fed with adequate diet, prepared for assay by deprivation of food for 2 hours preceding the test. So for this test, as the name suggests, basically we are going to check the in how many mice there is a conversion due to hypoglycemia. So for that purpose, we are selecting 96 mice, and that has the weight range between 18 to 22 grams. They are given proper diet, but for essay, the food is deprived, withheld 2 hour preceding the test. So again, for this essay, you are going to prepare two dilutions of standard and test samples respectively. So again, mice are divided into four groups, 96 into four groups. And mice weighing about 20 grams are given suitable dose of 0.015 units and 0.030 units. So basically two dilutions for samples, two dilution for standard. So whatever the weight between the 18 to 20 are an average weight between is that is the 20 gram is given doses. So two dilution means two doses are prepared. One is will be having the 0.015 units per ml per 5 ml basically, and second dose is 0.030 units per point 5 ml. So say the dilutions are made such that respective two doses are contained in equal volumes not greater than zero point 0.5 ml. So whatever these two doses are there, as discussed earlier, they are being given per zero point 0.5 ml. So 0.015 units per zero point 0.5 ml and 0.030 units per zero point 0.5 ml, the two doses for standard and the two doses for sample that are being given to four groups, two for standard groups and two for sample group. So after injection, mice are kept at uniform temperature between 29 to 35 degrees centigrade in an air incubator. So they are kept under observation in the normal temperature ranges for this test include 29 to 35 degrees centigrade, that is maintained in an air incubator, and mice are observed for 1.5 hour, that is basically 1.5 hour 90 minutes, and number of mice which are dead or convulsed are lie still for 2 to 3 seconds when placed on their back are recorded. So basically in mice conversion test, after giving the doses, we are going to check them. Either they will be died due to the hypoglycemia, or they will be having the hypoglycemic convulsion, are they for and they become still for 2 to 3 seconds when they are placed on their back. So number of the mice is in these four groups, in 96 mice in the four groups, two for standard, two for sample, and we are going to check how many mice are showing the this type of the response, either death or convulsion. So the it says the normal blood sugar level are 1000 microgram per ml, and the convulsion occur below 350 microgram per ml in mice convulsion. So basically, once an approximation can be made, okay, once the mice are showing convulsion, it means that their blood sugar is going to be dropped down to 350 microgram per ml. So in these mice, the normal is 1000 microgram per ml, but Once that is dropped to 350 microgram per ml, they will be showing convulsion due to hypoglycemia. So the estimation can be made for that dose. So say the variation allowed, or you can say the estimated range for this test is between 90 to 110%. So rapid blood sugar method, method 2 for insulin bioassay. It is also known as rabbit twin crossover method or rabbit twin crossover test. It is basically a quantitative method, means कि how much of the dose has got how much reduction in the blood sugar. Basically, if you are going to say about the basic methods of the bioassay, it is like graded type response. The how the dose as the dose increases, the response or the activity will also be increased as compared to the mice conversion test, which is like endpoint all or none response type, or yes or no type, because a fixed response is selected and all the mice are observed for that response, that is the conversion or death due to the conversion. That conversion is the basic response in which is being recorded. So only those results are included in which those mice are facing the conversion due to hypoglycemia in the mice test, whereas in this test in each rabbit the dose has got how much reduction, like graded response is checked. So that's why it's termed as quantitative method. So again, similarly, you have to prepare the stock solutions for both standard as well as sample. And for this purpose, you have to dissolve a quantity of standard and or sample into saline solution, and then you have to acidify with HCl to pH of 2.5 to 3.5, and you have to add cresol or phenol 0.1 to 0.25% as a preservative to prevent the growth of mold, or as a preservative either cresol or phenol can be selected. Similarly, you can add glycerin 1.4 to 1.8%. So stock solution is made in such a way that each ml contain 40 units of insulin per ml. So basically, for rabbit twin crossover test, the stock solution is having the concentration of 40 units per ml. So dilutions of standard and the sample solutions are made for this test. So the dilute stock solutions with normal saline in a manner that 1 unit is contained in 1 ml, and it can be standard solution 1 or assay solution 1. So for sample, it is also termed as assay solution. So for sample specimen, the assay solution is described, whereas reference standard is termed as standard solution. So and second dilution is said get 2 units contained in per ml. So it will be standard solution 2 or SA solution 2. So in the solution 1 there is a 1 unit per ml in both, either it's a standard or sample, or we can say the SA solution, or in the second one 2 units per ml. We are making the dilution in a way that 2 units are contained per ml from a stock solution that is having 40 units per ml. Okay, so uh, 2 dilution 1 unit per ml and 2 units per ml for both the standard as well as sample or assay. The procedure for this rabbit sugar method says uh, rabbits weighing not less than 1.8 kg are selected. So those rabbits who are weighing less than 1.8 kg, they are excluded, and those who are weighing 1.8 and little bit more, they are basically selected. And divide the rabbits into 4 equal groups of preferably not less than 6 in each. So you have to divide all the rabbits into 4 equal groups, and in each group there are at least 6, not less than 6 rabbits in each group. So on the preceding day, 20 hours before the assay, give rabbits with an amount of food that will be digested within 6 hours. So 20 hours before the assay. You are going to give rabbits a diet that will be easily digested, and that will not remain after 6 hours. So basically you are going to give them a little bit fasting type condition. So you are going to give them a easily digested food that will be easily digested before the essay. And 20 hour before the essay, you have to give the food that is easily digested within 6 hours. And you have to repeat the same procedure for each test. So every time you are going to perform the test, you have to perform this step, that you have to give the rabbits 20 hours before the essay. You are going to give the rabbits the easily digested food. So handle the rabbits with care to avoid undue excitement. So you have to make sure that they are not excited due to some trauma or due to mishandling. And then you have to inject subcutaneous indicated doses as described in table 1. So you have to inject them subcutaneously in a manner that is described in table 1. And it says the second, as the four groups are there, two doses are being analyzed. So it says the second dose is given on the day after first injection or not more than 1 week later. So two doses are given in a way, either you are going to give it on the next day, 1 day after the first injection, or you are making it a delay, then it should not be more than 1 week. So as per USP, the table for the doses that can be given to the rabbits for this blood sugar method. So it says there are four groups. So first column, the group 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the first injection, and second column is the second injection. So in the first injection, the once if first group is receiving first injection standard solution 2, then second injection will be of SS solution 1. If the second group is having standard solution 1, then second injection will be solution 2. If third group is going to have SS solution 2 as a first injection, then second injection will be standard solution 1. And similarly, fourth, if they are receiving standard solution 1, then they will be having second standard solution 2 if they are having the SS solution 1. So this is the twin crossover test. They are either receiving a high dose standard, then a low dose SAR sample solution. So make sure SS solution means the sample solution. Okay, that's sample, the specimen you are going to evaluate and comparing with the standard solution. So if they are receiving high dose standard solution, then second dose they will be receiving a low dose sample. If they are receiving high dose sample, then second injection they will receive will be a low dose standard. So that's why it's called twin crossover test. We are giving one first injection either standard. If first is given standard, then second will be SAR sample, or if it is the first is given SAR sample solution, then second injection to the same group, same rabbit will be standard. So blood samples are collected at 1 hour plus minus 5 minutes after injection, and 2.5 hour plus minus 5 minutes from the marginal air vein or central auricular artery, that is the air artery. So at two samples are collected. One is after 1 hour with the range of plus minus 5 minutes, and second after 2.5 hour, again with the range of plus minus 5% from the air vein or air artery of the rabbit. The sample is dialyzed and analyzed in a colorimeter, and absorbance is checked at 600 nanometer. So basically, we will be using colorimeter as an instrument for determination of the sugar concentration. So results are calculated by statistical method that is using 95% confidence interval. So values are put it over there, and the confidence interval is maintained 95%, and you have to calculate the result. They are coming within the specified range or not. So microbiological assays or microbioassays, or in other words, it says microbiological standardization. So these usually involve or include antibiotic assays for assaying the antibiotics using microorganisms as a test organism. So what they are in the antibiotic assay, or you can say the microbiological assay for antibiotic, is the activity or potency of antibiotics that can be demonstrated under suitable conditions by their inhibitory effect on microorganisms. So we are checking their potency or activity by comparing, by observing their inhibitory effect on the microorganisms. So it says these are the general standards to resolve the doubts with regard to the loss of activity. So to make sure that still the antibiotic is effective against their respective microorganisms, these assays are performed, and made sure it is made sure the antibiotic is still effective against these microorganisms, and it did not lost its activity against them. So standard preparation and the units for antibiotic assay, microbiome assay, it says generally the potency of an antibiotic is determined either in units contained in mg of powder or mg containing 1 units. These are the journal units for measuring the potency, whereas microgram is unit is also used in determining the potency of antibiotic when the antibiotic is considered as a pure single entity, there's no any mixture of substance available, then microgram is also used as a unit of measurement for determining the potency of antibiotic. So it's only in case of when the antibiotic is a pure single entity. So methods, uh, generally these microbiological assays are, you can say, the antibiotic assays according to USP. Two methods are there. One is cylinder plate or plate assay. Second one is turbidimetric or tube assay. So first method, cylinder plate or plate assay, says it's also known as cylinder disk or disk method and or diffusion method. So cylinder plate, plate assay, cylinder disk or disk method or diffusion method for antibiotic assay, all are somehow they are synonyms to each other. So in this type of methods is depend upon the diffusion of antibiotic from vertical cylinder through a solidified agar media to an extent such that growth of added microorganism is prevented entirely in circular area or zone around the cylinder containing antibiotic solution. So this is the principle of the cylinder plate essay. What is going to happen when you are going to perform this test? So basically the antibiotic is contained in a disc. There are specific antibiotic impregnated discs are prepared, and then these discs are placed over the solidified agar media in the petri dishes, and when we are keeping them in the normal temperature, so that will the antibiotic will be diffusing out in the medium from that disc, and that will create a circular area or zone around the cylinder containing antibiotic. So it will create a clear zone around that disc that was containing the antibiotic, and from that disc that was the antibiotic was diffused through the media and going to inhibit the growth of microorganisms. So a circular zone, a clear area is going to be produced around that disc, and that zone is the of great importance. We are going to measure that zone, how much of the inhibition has caused by this antibiotic. So this is the principle. So that's why we can say it's a cylinder plate. We are using the petri dishes plates like material for media and the culture, and as well as the antibiotic is contained in the disc, like paper type disc, you can say simple, that are being impregnated with the, or you can say covered with the sample antibiotic, and then those discs are placed over there. So disc method, and how it is going to be provide the mechanism that is being followed, that is the diffusion method, means the antibiotic is going to be diffused into the solidified agar media to inhibit the growth of microorganisms. So the principle is showing that, basically justifying the name that is being given to this method. So say the diameter of zone of inhibition is measured by scale or vernier caliper, because the activity is going to be measured for antibiotic. We are going to measure the diameter of zone of inhibition or clear or circular area around that disc. So basically the activity is actually the zone of inhibition that is caused by the antibiotic. So journal requirement for antibiotic assay, we require petri dish, media, microbial culture. Cylinders are the disc made up of either porcelain or steel, or both are not available, even paper. Antibiotic solution, both standard and this sample one, and an incubator. So these are the journal requirement for the cylinder plate or disc assay. So procedure for plate assay, it says to prepare assay plates, place 21 ml of media in petri dish and allow it to harden. Uh, Place zero point 0.2 ml or approximately 1% of inoculum in medium by spread plate technique, that is by tilting back and forth petri dish to form a uniform smooth layer and allow it to uh, settle. So, and second method is streaking method. So the spread plate technique is usually described by the USP or specified by USP. So the inoculum can be spreaded in the uh, petri dishes you are preparing for assay by two methods. One is your spread plate technique that is specified by USP, and second is by streaking method. So by spread plate technique, that is described by tilting back and forth to the petri dish is tilted back and forth to form a uniform layer of inoculum or your microorganism layer in the petri dish for growth. Our second is by using a wide loop to make streaks in the media for growth. So depending upon the your requirement, or you can say you are either you are following the USP, you can have spread plate technique. Otherwise, you can also use streaking method. And after you have placed your inoculum in the media in the plates, you have to drop 6 cylinders containing dilutions of antibiotic by suitable mechanical means from a distance of approximately 12 mm. So basically, you are not supposed to make from very long distance to make drop these cylinders to cause any disturbance in the media. So you have to place at least 6 cylinders or 6 discs that are containing various dilutions of your antibiotic by using any forceps or any helping mechanical machine, or you can say um, any suitable method you can use to place these cylinders in the in your plates containing the inoculum and the media, and afterwards you have to incubate them at the temperature of 32 to 35 degrees centigrade or as specified for individual antibiotic in the monograph for 16 to 18 hours. So incubation temperature and the time, this is the journal one that can vary with the individual monograph. If it is not specified in the individual monograph, this is the journal requirement. Okay, after placing media, then in placing inoculum and then placing the antibiotic cylinders or the disc in the uh, petri dishes or plates, you are going to incubate at the temperature of 32 to 35 degrees centigrade for these 16 to 18 hours. So after incubation period, remove the cylinders or the discs and calculate the diameter of zone of inhibition of microbial culture, that is usually 14 to 16 millimeters. So after that due time you have to measure the zone of inhibition, which is the actual measure of potency or activity of the antibiotic. So for one level standard curve, um, according to USP, you have to prepare five dilutions of standard preparation as S1, S2, S3, S4, and S5, and a single dilution of test preparation are unknown, that is U3, and that unknown dose corresponds to the dose of S3, means ke you are preparing five doses or five dilutions of standard and you are going to compare a single sample dose, and that sample dose is made approximately in a manner that is the same dose as that of standard 3 dose or S3 dose is there, and you are going to compare with them. So various dilutions of the standard are there, and then you are comparing an approximately equal equivalent dose of standard 3 of sample, and then you will compare whether it is providing the same result or it is showing certain result with the showing result like S4 or S5 or S1 or S2. So it's important that up, the approximation is made in a way that the dose is same, so it is important that the activity should also be same. So U3's activity and the amount both must be similar like S3, but still we are going to compare whether it is equivalent to the S3 or not. Second method or turbidimetric method or tube assay. Say the method depend upon inhibition of growth of microbial culture in a uniform solution of antibiotic in a fluid medium that is favorable to its rapid growth in the absence of that antibiotic solution. So this is the principle or the description about your turbidimetric method, that over there we are not using solidified media, instead we are using fluid medium or broth, and that's why we are performing this method in tubes, test tubes. So that's why it's also termed as the tube assay, and usually we are adding the solution of the antibiotic in and the culture in fluid medium and checking the inhibition of growth that is caused by the antibiotic. Otherwise, in the absence of that antibiotic, that medium is very favorable for the rapid growth of microorganism. So for its procedure, it says prepare desired media and transfer it into assay tubes. Inoculate with the specific microbial culture that is sensitive to antibiotic being examined. Add various dilutions in different test tubes prepared from the standard art test material of an antibiotic being examined. Usually 1 ml of preparation or dilution is added to 9 ml of culture medium. So 1 into 10 ratio they are making the test material or antibiotic to the culture medium that is being used. So, and then after adding the culture and the antibiotic in the medium, you have to incubate in an incubator or another facility that is being provided in the official monograph, that either in incubator or using a water bath that is maintained at 36 to 37 degrees centigrade, or as specified for individual antibiotic for 3 to 4 hours as per USP, or 4 to 5 hours as per European Pharmacopoeia. So the incubation time varied by the journal time for incubation is different when you are referring either USP or European Pharmacopoeia. So add after that incubation time, you have to add zero point 0.5 ml of dilute formaldehyde to inhibit further growth, and then you have to examine the assay tube by checking their absorbance or transmittance with the help of a spectrophotometer at 530 nanometer or 580 nanometer. So usually the absorbance or transmittance, or you can say the presence or absence of turbidity, you are going to check. So you are using test tube for analysis, so tube assay, and you are checking the presence or absence of the turbidity due to the microbial culture in the test tube. So that's why again its name is again justified as a turbidimetric method. So this will describe how much inhibition has caused by the antibiotic. It says again for one level standard curve, five dilutions are test level of the standard preparation are prepared, and a single dilution or test level of unknown is prepared corresponding to S3. Usually 20 tubes are prepared of unknown sample according to USP. So again over there, let us say one level standard curve, you have to prepare five dilutions of the standard, and single dilution are those of your uh, unknown or sample that correspond to the middle dose, that are median dose, that is the S3. But for comparison, usually over there 20 tubes are prepared for assay. So according to European Pharmacopoeia, three doses of standard and three doses of sample are made, and the three test tube of each dose are made again. So three standard, three sample, and three dilutions, uh, three tubes of each dilution, means ke three is a nine total tubes are prepared for standard and nine for uh, test sample. So two controls are prepared, both contain media and culture, and zero point 0.5 ml of dilute formaldehyde solution, and three replicas are made of each. It means again six total control tubes are prepared, um, three with media and culture, while three with formaldehyde. So formaldehyde is added after incubation period, and then you have to perform the analysis by checking the absorbance or transmittance. So for comparative parameter, for using the antibiotics, you have standard, you have sample, and then you have two controls, one with formaldehyde and one without formaldehyde. So for comparison, as after, during the essay period, you are going to add the formaldehyde to prevent further growth. The time due during you are going to perform the analysis. So for checking any inhibition that is caused by formaldehyde, then you are going to compare that result also with the formaldehyde control and normal culture and the media for further reference and the you can say confirmation of the antibiotic activity. Without antibiotic how much growth has occurred, and without with antibiotic how much inhibition has been got. So this is the combination of table number 9 and 10, describing different standard preparation and their units, and the test microorganisms, the medium that is used for analysis RSA, pH of that medium, pH of standard preparation, potency that is the units per ml that is used for analysis, and the last one the incubation temperature. So the first standard preparation is your bacitracin, and it contains 74 units per mg, and the unit is containing 0.00011531 mg. The test organism used for assay is the Micrococcus flavus. Medium used is A. pH of medium is 7, and even the pH of standard preparation is 7. Potency for bacitracin is 1 to 4, that is units per ml. And the incubation temperature for assay is 37 to 39 degrees centigrade. Similarly, for erythromycin, units are 950 per mg, 0.001053 are the mgs that are contained in the unit, and test organism used is the Bacillus humulus. Medium used is A. pH of the medium is 7.8, whereas pH of standard preparation is 8.0. Potency for erythromycin is 5 to 25 means units per ml. Incubation temperature for erythromycin is again same, 37 to 39 degrees centigrade. For the macrocycline, units are available, 1000 units are available per mg, and 0.001 mg are available in the 1 unit. Test organism used for assay is the Bacillus cereus. Medium used is the C. pH of that medium is 6.6 for assay. pH of standard preparation for this assay is 5.8. Potency of the macrocycline is the units per ml include 0.25 to zero point 0.5, and the incubation temperature for that assay is 30 degrees centigrade. So various ingredients that are used for the common media that are used for antibiotic assay, that is the medium A. The ingredients include peptone, pancreatic digest of casein, beef extract, yeast, anhydrous, dextrose, agar, and water. Whereas for medium B, there is pancreatic digest of casein, pubic digest of soja bean, sodium chloride, dipotassium hydrogen phosphate, anhydrous dextrose, agar, and water. For medium C, there is a yeast extract, ammonium nitrate, sodium dihydrogen phosphate, anhydrous dextrose, agar, and water. And for medium D, there is a beef extract, yeast extract, sodium chloride, anhydrous dextrose, agar, and water. So, statistical quality control, our next chapter for discussion. So, statistical quality control, or in other words, SQC, is the term used to describe statistical tools used by quality professionals. So, basically, the quality professional that use the different tools that are available in the statistics to maintain the quality. So that's basically statistical quality control. The term was pioneered by Walter A. Schwartz, an American physicist, engineer, and statistician in early 1920s. So he is also termed as the pioneer or father of SQC. So these basically the terms that are commonly used are the descriptive descriptive statistics. So the descriptive statistics is used to describe quality characteristics and relationships. So different terms that are the part of descriptive statistics that are used to describe the quality characteristics and the relationship, and that can be applied in any manufacturing or any process control. So the descriptive statistics terms or tools include mean, range, and standard deviation. So mean is basically the sum of observations divided by the total number of the observations, sum of the various values of the different observations and divided by total number. So this is the formula, that is the xy is equal sum of xi, that is the observation, and n the number of observation. Next term that is used is the range. So it is the difference between the largest and the smallest observation. So these both are most commonly used in the manufacturing and the process control to maintain the quality within certain limits, and the mean is basically used as the uh, perfect, you can say, parameter that is to be followed within certain ranges, that is the difference between the smallest and the largest observation. So like the example says, the 3, 4, 6, 7, and 9. So the smallest is the 3 and 9 is the largest, so we are going to subtract the smallest from the largest one to have the idea about the range, and in this value the range is 6. The next tool that is used is the standard deviation. So it is the measure of dispersion of a curve, and it measures the extent to which these values are scattered around the central mean. So the mean is providing you the central value, the exact value that you try to obtain, and the range is providing you the sum of the area under which you can safely proceed any process or production. So the standard deviation will measure how much there is a difference from the mean is there, from the center value is there. So the formula for standard deviation is in front of you, that is sigma is equal to standard deviation of a sample. X bar is the mean, and the xi are the observations, different observation, and n is the number of the observation in the sample. So that can be calculated by using this formula. So statistical process control. So say the extended use of descriptive statistics to control the quality of product or process. So using these descriptive statistics tools are the parameters to control the quality of product or process is termed as statistical process control. So in this process control, it will help to determine the amount of variation. So how much variation is there, and how much the values are scattered around the mean, or how much values are stuck with the central exact value. So this can determine easily by plotting certain graphs how much variation is there, how much similarity is there. So to make sure that the process is in the state of control, so the amount of variation or amount of the similarity will be making you to sure about the process or the production is in the state of control. So whatever the production and the process is happening, by observing the graph you can make sure that it is in the state of control or not. Variation is more, the values are going beyond the upper and the lower control limits, then obviously the process, you have to make certain changes to make the process under in the state of control. If it's they are all the values are within these limits, then no need to take any further action. Let the process being performed in the usual manner. So setting control limits, the way by how you are going to make certain control limits, depending upon the type of the product or process, the uh, amount of variation that is allowed in the monograph, you can control the you will set the control limits like that, upper control limit and lower control limit, and in between them whatever the average or the main value is there, and the different dots are showing you how much variation is there, means you can say it's mean average weight, then one weight was above that one, to second weight average weight was less than that one, and but still all the weight values that are coming are under the are in the state of control, because all are under the upper and the lower control limit. So this way the process, you can say, will can proceed, the production can be proceeded as usual manner, because it is in the state of control, because no any value or observation is going above the upper control limit, are moving below the lower control limit. So these whatever plus minus 10, 20, 30% depend upon the product and the allowed variation by the individual monograph in case of pharmaceutical product production. So SPC, you can say statistical process control methods that employs control charts. So it says the control charts show sample data plotted on a graph with the control limit, upper control limit, lower control limit. So you can say more easily, you can say mean, upper and the lower control limit. So these charts are made, as in the previous slide we have discussed, it's a type of the graph or charts are made, and to plot a graph over there, whatever values are there that are plotted in the form of graph for easy observation or calculation of the variation or similarity. So control charts are of two types. One is for variable, one is for attribute. So control charts for variables are used to monitor characteristics that can be measured. So the values that are numbers are in the quantity usually, like length in meters, weight in mgs, grams, diameter in mm, or in the meter, depending upon the type of the product. So whatever the variables are there that are having the quantitative measurement, we can measure their quality by measuring having the data about their quantity. So that are variables, that the charts are termed as control charts for variables, whereas control charts for attribute are used to monitor characteristics that have discrete value and can be measured, can be counted, means number or percentage of defectives in a box, or in a vial, or number of defective vials per box, number of defective tablets per strips. So we usually attribute charts are for the non you can say quantitative measures, like you cannot measure the value of defectiveness, so that's why we can count them either in numbers or in the percentages. Control charts for variables, so it's a variable charts are variable data. So it says it is concerned to the quantitative data, volume, weight, hardness, thickness, those parameters for measuring their quality. We are going to have the numbers, the volume in ml, weight in the mg, grams, hardness in the kg, thickness in the mm, like that. So the variable quantitative data we have. So the types of chart for these variables that have the quantitative values, that include X chart and R chart. So the X chart, basically the average or mean data chart. So what they are, whatever the value is there, that is put it in mean, like generally most followed type of chart in the manufacturing, like weight uniformity test. So in that case, average weight of 10 tablets or 20 tablets, depending upon the policy or the instruction, but the average is taken, and that average value is plotted in the graph. during the analysis, during each after every half an hour, the process controller from production control is going to take the mean weight and put it in the form that in the production file. After 2 hours, the um IPC from the quality control department is coming, and they are putting their values, whatever they are measuring, in that same graph to monitor, to make sure that the manufacturing is proceeding according to the plan and in the state of control. So this is the one of the example of mean data कि whatever the volume, weight or hardness, thickness we can take in the average values of 10, 20. So mostly it's followed for the weight or volume type parameters, and the average weight, average volume is taken for analysis during every 30 minutes or more than that, depending upon the company policies, and that are plotted in the chart or in the graph that is available in the file. Next is R chart. You can say range chart or range data. So in this type of the chart, sample ranges are plotted to control the variability of a variable. Even in range or in the even in the X charts, usually certain ranges are the control limits are set to make sure they are not moving. The values are not going outside these control limits. So range chart are for where only ranges are plotted, whereas X chart only mean is important, but still both are performed in the same charts to make complete sure about the process or the production. So control charts for attributes says attributes are the discrete events like yes, no, pass, fail, good, bad, like that. That cannot be measured in a value. So the quality characteristics that are for attribute they are made include P charts. So it's the quality characteristics that are discrete and involve yes or no or good or bad, that cannot be measured in mg ml, like those parameters. So these type of chart usually include percent defectives per machine, per batch or per day. So depending upon the measurement, you can include a number or percent of defectives per machine that is being produced, or percent of the defectives per batches that are produced, or even you can include the time duration that per day to make evaluation whether the process or the is going in smooth manner or not. Second one is the C chart. So it is for the discrete defects when that can be when there can be more defects per unit. So in the P charts we are saying that this one is defective, this one is defective, this one, and then calculate their percentage and putting in them in the percentage. Whereas in the C charts you can say per unit how many defects are available. So in the defective vials, how many cracks are there or how many spots are there. So in that case, when more than one defects per unit are there, we are going to put them in the C charts, and we'll count them, the number of defectives per unit. One vial was having two defects, second vial having three defects, or third one has the one defect, like that one we are going to make chart depending upon the number of the defectives per unit that is being produced. So it's in this chart, number of defects per machine, per batch, per day can also be measured, but you have to make sure that C charts are for more defects per unit. We are going to count defective units, and among each defective units how much defects were there. So most common you can say this is chart is the number of market complaints per year. How many product recalls or product returns are there, or how many complaints are coming per year about any product by the company. So they are made basically in the C charts. slide is showing you an image of your X bar chart, how the values are put and mean is selected, and then during observation, the samples being analyzed are being checked, or during continuous process, time graph is made in which time how much average weight observed, and in after half an hour how much observed weight was there or volume was there. So this slide is showing you an example of the P chart. Is the number of percentages we are going to calculate is like 60 is the average and the 40 is the 40% is the lower control limit, and somewhat 70 is like upper control limit, and that is plotted against the different dates, how much of the defectives were observed per day, in or on that day how much defectives were observed, or how much variability was observed. This slide is again showing you the C chart. You can see the number of defectives per unit is being calculated is 0, 5, 10, and then the groups are, you can say, samples who are over there. You can say in first one how much defects were there, one was there or two was there. In second one how much defects were there, two, three, four, five, like that. Like in third one it's more than 10 defects per unit or per group was there. So this is how C chart are made.
So the references for today's lecture are in front of you. That's all for today's lecture in theory class. So pharmaceutical quality management lab content. Number 8, the object we have the alkalinity test for glass containers, and the method we are discussing today is the powder glass method. The second method. So requirement for this method include obviously the sample, and that is type 3 glass containers, for example distilled water, sulfuric acid, methyl red indicator, autoclave, mortar and pestle, and oven. For this powder glass test, you have to take a clean dry empty glass bottle and crush it in a mortar and pestle, means the sample glass bottle. Spread the sample on a butter paper or any glazed paper. um, Remove the iron particles from the sample with the help of magnet, which may be introduced during crushing process. Transfer the sample in a 25 ml conical flask and wash it with 30 ml acetone 6 times and leave it for 30 seconds. So when particles settle down, discard the supernatant liquid. So whenever washing with the acetone, you are going to wait so that particles of the glass are settled down. Then whatever supernatant superficial liquid is there, you have to discard it to remove any impurities or very small particles of the glass. So afterwards, you have to dry the glass particles in an oven at 140 degrees centigrade for 20 minutes. So after washing, you have to dry it. After drying, you have to transfer this powder in another dried conical flask of 100 ml capacity and add 50 ml of distilled water. So that is basically we are going to prepare the sample. So in another conical flask, 100 ml, add 50 ml of distilled water. That is for the blank reading, means for comparison. For the blank, no any glass material over there, only distilled water. So cover both flasks with paper and place in an autoclave at 120 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes. So over there, one of having the powder
glass sample, and next one is the conical flask that is only having the distilled water, and that serves as a blank hour for comparison in an autoclave for 30 minutes. And after that 30 minutes you have to bring them out and then cool them in a desiccator, both flasks, one blank as well as the sample one. Then transfer the distilled water from sample containing flask in other flask. The sample available in the from the autoclave, you will be bring it, and you have to transfer it into the another fresh flask, and wash glass powder with 15 ml distilled water 4 times and transfer this water in a separate flask and add 1 to 2 drops of methyl red. So whatever water you are taking that is containing the digested powder, your heated and the extracted glass powder, you are going to wash them, and you have to take the that water, and then you have to again wash it with the water, fresh water, 4 times and transfer it to the another flask in which you are going to perform the titration, and in that one you are going to add 1 to 2 drops of methyl red indicator. So again, after adding the indicator, you have to titrate against 0.02 NH2SO4 or sulfuric acid until color changes to a little bit pink, and then titrate the distilled water for blank determination in the same way. So the comparative blank flask distilled water is also titrated in the similar way. Note the blank reading should be zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2, and the sample reading should be about 8.5 according to the list that is provided, the how much of the sulfuric acid is going to be consumed during this titration. So the sample was glass 3, so it should be about 8.5 ml.